All right. So for those who are watching it in the morning, good morning, and for those who are with me tonight, so magandang gabi. So first, again, apologies for not being able to meet you last Wednesday. So in lieu of the meeting last Wednesday, tapos kasi bukas nasa or ngayon actually, kung pinapanood nyo to ng Friday morning until Saturday evening, I might be out of town to attend the strategic planning workshop of the graduate school. So kaya hindi ko kayo na-meet ng live ngayong Friday. But hopefully you're watching this recording. Hopefully before Wednesday next week kung kailan uumpisa na natin yung susunod na chapter. Because tonight I plan to finish, or in this recording I plan to finish the last two sections ng chapter 2 ng Math 151. So basically we will be looking at two different kinds of integrating factors. So sa section 2.8 I'll talk about integrating factors na single variable lamang. Okay? Yung nakita natin ng integrating factor dati when we look at first order linear differential equations, ano pa rin naman siya, siya ay isang function of a single variable, pero ang idea ron ay yung integrating factor ay kinuha natin para maging separable in differential equation. Now, the thing here is hindi natin laging kayang isulat yung mga equations into the standard form na binigay natin when we talk about linear differential equations for which we first encountered integrating factors. So ngayon, titingnan natin ano yung iba't pang mga paraan para gumamit ng integrating factors sa pag-solve ng ODEs pag hindi gumana yung mga previously nating natutunang mga techniques. Alright? In particular, the first type or the first set of slides that we'll talk about now will be about finding the integrating factor para yung resulting differential equation ay magiging exact. Alright? So parang hybrid na to nung integrating factor at saka pagiging exact ng differential equation. Alright? So here's the idea. Okay. So what we want to look for is another integrating factor. Pero yung hinahanap nating integrating factor, right, siya ay isang function u, hopefully of a single variable lamang kasi medyo makikita nyo mamaya komplikado yung magiging procedure kapag ka si u ay hindi function of a single variable lamang. But again, we start with a given ODE. So given tayo ng mxy dx plus n dy equals, n dy equals 0. And then you will try the previous techniques that we have learned. Ano? So pwede nyo i-check kung exact ba to. Recall, magiging exact siya kapag ka yung partial ni m with respect to y ay equals sa partial ni n with respect to x. Right? But if your ODE, if this given ODE is not exact, maybe, just maybe, we can find an integrating factor u na siya ay magiging exact. Alright? So, ano yung idea? Humanap tayo ng isang function u na pag minultiply ko to both sides of our ODE, makukuha ko tong line na to, and then I am hoping that this new ODE will be exact. Alright? Kailan nga nagiging exact ang isang ODE? Kapag ka yung partial nung multiplier kay dx with respect to y ay equal sa partial ng multiplier ni dy pero with respect to x, right? So that's why here to check pagiging exact, I want or the partial derivative of with respect to y ay maging equal sa partial derivative ni with respect to x. Alright? So ito pa rin yung pag-check kung exact siya from previous chapters. Alright? Kaya lang na iba na ngayon kasi posibleng si m at itong OD na to ay hindi exact. So yung partial ni m with respect to y will not necessarily be equal to the partial of n dx. If this is true, then you can proceed as what we did when we talk about exact DEs. Pero kapag ka hindi yan equal, baka sakali na pwede tayong makahanap ng integrating factor na etong bagong ODE na to, the one we obtained by multiplying both sides by the integrating factor u will be exact. Okay? Kailan to magiging exact? Kapag yung partial ni with respect to y ay equal sa partial ni with respect to x. Okay. Tapos i-derive natin, yan yung goal natin, makahanap ng function such that this is true. Alright? or alternatively such that this is true. Question, how do we find it? Okay? So tingnan natin kung paano natin yan makikita. Well, ito yung gusto nating mangyari. Delayed yata yung slide ko, but this is what I want to happen. I want again the partial of UM with respect to Y to be equal to the partial of UN with respect to X. Ngayon, i-compute ko ano yung itsura nung partials na yan. Okay, I want to know ano yung itsura nung mga partial derivatives after I apply the product rule. Okay? Now, I think na-disconnect yung tablet ko. So hold on, let me reshare my screen. Kahit recording, no, nadi-disconnect ako. Kasi magkaiba yata yung network yung Wi-Fi network nung tablet ko sa kanang laptop. Okay, so this is what we want to guarantee, right? So ngayon, kailangan nating malaman ano yung itsura ni U. Okay? So how U will look like. Thank you, Zaira. Okay na. Okay, so i-compute natin yung mga partial derivatives sa magkabilang side para makita natin ano dapat yung itsura ni U na integrating factor natin. Okay? So now I'll calculate yung partial derivatives. So umpisahan ko dito sa kaliwa, partial ni UM with respect to Y, but bear in mind that U and M are possibly functions of both X and Y, right? So kukunin ko yung partial, kailangan ko mag-product rule. So I'll have U times the partial of M with respect to Y plus M partial ni U with respect to Y. So ginamitan ko lang siya ng product rule. And then similarly, the right-hand side will be the partial, will be U times the partial of N with respect to X. And then this would be plus N partial ni N, N partial ni U with respect to X. Right? So nag-product rule lang ako muna. And then, ano yung pwede kong gawing susunod? Okay, so probably I can transfer some terms. So lahat ng mga may U, pwede kong ilipat sa kaliwa. Lahat ng mga walang U's, lahat ng hindi nakadepende kay U, ililipat ko sa kanan. Alright? So yung mga may partial lang ni U nandun sa kanan, lahat ng may eksaktong U nasa kaliwa. So I will have U partial ni M with respect to Y minus U partial ni N with respect to X ay magiging equal sa N partial ni U with respect to X minus or baliktad yata yung lalabas mamaya. But anyway, eventually we'll end up with the same thing, so minus M partial ni U with respect to Y. Okay? Or alternatively, baka ito yung makita natin mamaya dun sa susunod na slide. I can multiply both sides by -1 and then flip the equation. So I'll have M partial ni U with respect to Y minus N partial ni U with respect to X equals U partial ni N with respect to X minus U partial ni M with respect to Y, right? But these are equivalent. I'm just not sure which was used in the next slide. Kasi gusto nating makita ano yung itsura ng anong itsura ni U, right? So how does U look like? I guess ito yung gagamitin ko sa susunod na slide. So let's just copy this over to the next slide. Again, the goal ay makita natin ano dapat si U para maging totoo itong gusto nating mangyari na exact yung DE. Right. So I guess we have this. Okay, let's see. UDM. Tama pala. Ito na yung ginamit ko. Tapos finactor out ko si U. So I use this second equation as this second equation here, and then I factored out U. Tapos kinopya ko lang to dun sa right-hand side. So let me go back here. So that's what we got before, alright? Tapos i-assume natin, kunwari, si x ay function lamang ni u. Right? Again, this is just a simplification. Kapag ka si u ay variable, ay function ni both x and y, medyo komplikado yung method. And it might be more appropriate to use other methods than this integrating factor. Pero if the integrating factor is a function of x alone, we can easily find what it is. Specifically, what we'll have is this. Kapag ka si u ay function ni x lamang, alright, so that means u is a function of x, wala siyang variable na y, ibig sabihin, itong partial ni u with respect to y ay magzi-zero. Okay? So siya ay magzi-zero kasi yun nga, wala siyang variable na y. So it's a constant with respect to y. Okay? Then essentially, we simplify, we get this guy, tapos we can divide both sides by n. Alright? So makukuha ko ay 1 over n times this guy. Parang nag-separate ako ng variables. Then I'll divide both sides by u. So si n pumunta sa kanan, sa kaliwa. Si u pumunta sa kanan. So we'll get this equation. Right? And then we can integrate both sides and we will get ln ng absolute value ni u ay equals sa integral ni 1 over n times partial ni m with respect to y minus partial ni n with respect to x. Tas nag-integrate tayo with respect to x. Now, if I raise both sides of this equation, or if I use both sides of this equation as an exponent for e raised to the ln absolute value of u will just be equal to u, assuming that u is a positive function, right? And then the right-hand side will be e to the integral of 1 over n times the partial of m with respect to y minus partial ni n with respect to x. That means our integrating factor u will be equal to this integral over here. Okay? Ito yung kaso kapag ka sure ka na si u or kapag ka si u ay function lamang ni x. So we need to take a look at this term. Itong expression na to. Dapat itong expression na to is a function of x alone. Okay? So yung my minus nx. On the other hand, if we will assume that u is a function of y alone, okay? So kung assume naman natin na si u ay equal kay u of y lamang, so wala siyang variable na x. So ibig sabihin yung partial derivative ni u with respect to x ay magzi-zero lamang. Alright? So ito ay magzi-zero, yung first term ay magzi-zero, matitira na lang ay negative m times du over dy. Alright? And then I divide both sides by mu. So ibig sabihin, wala na si u rito. Actually, dito pala dinivide by negative m. So ito ay magiging negative 1 over m times this guy, kinopya sa kabila. Tapos yung u rito ay papang divide sa baba, magkakaroon tayo ng du over u. Okay? Again, we will integrate this, both sides, para makuha yung expression para kay u. Pag in-integrate natin yan, magkakaroon tayo ng ln ng absolute value ng u equals integral ng negative 1 over m times partial ni m with respect to y minus partial ni n with respect to x dy. And here our hope, since we are assuming that u is a function of y alone, dapat ito function lamang ni y. Right? Kung ito ay function lamang ni y, madali siya supposedly i-integrate with respect to y. Okay? And then I will use both sides as exponent to e. So magkakaroon ako ng e to the exponent ln u. That will just be absolute value of u. All right? And if we will assume to be u to be a positive function, then u will be equal to e to this integral. Right? And that will be our integrating factor. Okay, pero again, ang requirement para maging integrating factor ito ay dapat yung partial ni m with respect to y minus partial ni n with respect to x divided by m dapat ay function lamang ni y. Right? So yun yung tangi nating conditions. And then, when we multiply both sides of our equation by the integrating factor u we got here, or the one we got from the previous slide, dapat yung makukuha nating bagong ODE ay exact. Right? So dahil exact siya, pag na-multiply mo na both sides by u, then kailangan natin gamitin yung natutunan nating techniques in a previous section sa pagsosolve ng mga exact differential equations. But remember, the exact differential equation is the differential equation after we multiplied by the integrating factor. Okay? So siguro to make more sense of this process, let's consider a specific example. Okay? So this example is x squared plus y squared plus 1 dx plus x times x minus 2y dy. Alright? So kung ito yung tatawagin nating m, this is m, and then this is our n, you can check or verify that this is not an exact ODE. Kasi ang partial ni m with respect to y, alright? Ito ipa-partial ko with respect to y, we'll get 2y, while the partial of n with respect to x, but this guy is x squared minus 2xy, tama? So ang partial niya with respect to x ay equal kay 2x minus 2y. Etong dalawa ay hindi equal. So itong ODE na to, in its current form, is not exact. Alright? But the promise is we can sort of derive an exact ODE coming from this differential equation. All right. And that is via looking at the integrating factor. Okay. Now let's see. Let's try to do that. What I'll do here is to let my variables first para mas klaro dun sa babasa ng solution. Ano yung mga pinagsasabi nating function m, ano si function n, right? So here I will let the function m of the variables x and y to be x squared plus y squared plus 1, and n of xy will be the second function here, yung namumultiply by dy. Simplify ko na siya, siya ay magiging what? Siya ay magiging x squared minus 2xy. Okay? And then right? So paano siya magiging exact? Well, kailangan natin ng integrating factor. But there's a requirement para magkaroon ka ng integrating factor. We need to see first whether this guy would be a function of x alone, right? So note that titingnan natin yung nakuha natin from our derivation, either of the two cases, right? So tingnan ko muna to. Okay, let me just copy this. Lipat ko to. I-check ko muna kung yung integrand dito, okay, I'll check if this integrand ay function lamang ni x. Kapag katong integrand na to ay function lamang ni x, then I can compute for the integrating factor in the variable x alone. All right? So that's why let's see about that. So computing ko ulit yung partial ni m with respect to y. Okay. Yung partial ni m with respect to y, that pala diniretso ko na kanina, no? Kailangan ko rin pala siya. So, but anyway, this partial derivative is equal to 2y. And then ang partial ni n with respect to x ay equal kay 2x minus 2y. All right? And again, we have seen this before, kaya siya hindi exact. Kasi hindi equal yung partial ni m with respect to y at saka yung partial ni n with respect to x. Pero dahil alam ko na hindi siya exact, i-try ko. Baka naman pwede ako makakuha ng integrating factor kung saan magiging exact yung bagong DE. Alright? And again, the requirement is for us to look at this expression, the integrand. Tingnan ko yung 1 over n times partial ni m with respect to y minus partial ni n with respect to x and see if it is a function of x alone. Alright? So here, I'll expand ko lang siya. So yung 1 over n ng partial ni m with respect to y minus partial ni n with respect to x ay magiging equal sa partial ni m with respect to y, we know it's 2y, minus quantity, partial ni n with respect to x, so that's 2x minus 2y, all over n. Ano si n? Si n ay ito lamang, 2x minus 2y. Okay? And then we'll try to expand and simplify this. And I am having my fingers crossed right now. Sana maging function lamang siya ni x. Kasi pag naging function lamang to ni x, ko para makuha ko yung integrating factor. All right? So this would be 4y minus 2x. Bakit hindi siya equal? Over 2x minus 2y. Did I miss something? Partial ni m with respect to y. Partial ni m with respect to y. Tama naman na 2y. Partial ni n with respect to x. So siya ay 2x squared minus 2y. Tama naman. Tapos isusubtract ko tong dalawa. So 2y minus 2x minus 2y. Alright. Mali pala yung denominator ko. Alright. Ang denominator ko dapat dito ay si n. It's the partial of m with respect to y minus partial of n with respect to x. Ito yung nasa numerator divided by n. Ang n ko nga pala ay ito, x squared minus 2xy. So, I'll replace that x squared minus 2xy, right? Tapos i-factor ko rito yung 2, right? Sorry, anong pwede kong i-factor dito? I can factor out an x sa lab x times x minus 2y. And then I'll see if I can factor the same thing from the numerator para mawala yung y. Kasi ang gusto kong mangyari, ito ay maging function lamang ni x. Para ito, makukuha natin yung actual integral niya, which is our integrating factor, right? But here I can factor out a negative 2, and we'll end up with x minus 2y over x times x minus 2y. The x minus 2y's will cancel each other, so we'll be left with negative 2 over x. All right? So dahil itong integrand na yan ay function lamang ni x, pwede kong gamitin yung e to this integral as my integrating factor para maging exact yung dE, right? Oh, thank you, Zaira. Pwede ko nga i-factor si x. Sana kinall out mo ako kanina nung nakalimutan ko to, no? Mali yung nakopya ko. Ito pala. Mali yung nakopya ko na x. Kaya nagtataka ako, bakit hindi ko siya cancel? Bakit hindi siya maging function of x alone? Alright? So that means, ito yung 1 over n times partial ni m with respect to y minus partial ni n with respect to x. Okay, no problem, Syra. Okay, so chat-chat ka lang dyan. Ano, pag may napansin ka na something na mali. Okay, so ngayon, kukomputing ko na yung integrating factor. So yung integrating factor natin, u of x, function lamang ni x, ito ay equals sa e to the integral. Nung na-compute natin kanina, ano nga yung na-compute natin kanina? Negative 2 over x. Siya yung simplified version nito. So siya yung magiging integrand sa integrating factor. Okay? Tapos, simplify lang natin to. Integral ng negative 2 over x ay 2 or negative 2 ln ng absolute value ng x plus c. All right? Then, let's simplify the integrating factor. So here, I will choose that c is equal to 0 and x's are positive para mawala yung absolute value symbol, right? Thus, we'll have the integrating factor in the variable x alone to be e. This is e to the ln ng x to the negative 1, right? Loss of logarithms. So this will just be 1 over x. So, ibig sabihin, 1 over x daw yung ating integrating factor. Okay? Now, this is our integrating factor. So, the original ODE, copyin ko lang yung original ODE, ay i-multiply natin both sides ng integrating factor. Okay? Copy ko siya dito. So, ang ODE na natin ngayon ay 1 over x times x squared plus y squared plus 1 dx plus 1 over x times this guy. Magkakaroon lang tayo ng x minus 2y dy equals 0. Alright? So, minultiply ko both sides ng 1 over x. Yes, Ira? May nakalimutan ba akong gawin? Bakit hindi sinama yung x? Which x? Yung etong multiplier? Let me double check that. Hindi ko actually masyadong binabasa yung handouts, ano. Double check ko. Let's see. Mhm. Hold on. May mali pala dun sa aking solution. Eto pala. Eto ay -2. Nakalimutan ko siyang copyhin sa baba. So it's -2 ln of x. So -2 ln of x na siya. So tataas yung -2 as exponent of x. Kaya siguro, Syra, kulang yung solution ko. So dapat ngayon, sasakto na to sa handout. Kung walang typo yung handout, ano. So dapat 1 over x squared yung integrating factor ko. So ito ay 1 over x squared. Sa handouts ay okay. Okay, eto. Sa page 8, nag-divide na siya ng 1 over x squared. Mhm. I think parehas na kami nung handout. Tama ba? I think umabot din dito yung handout, or unless you're referring to a different slide number. Just let me know kung anong slide number yung nakita mo, if ever. Hmm. Yeah, I think parehas na kami. Okay? Now, with the promise, nung pagkaka-compute natin ng integrating factor, dapat ito ay exact ODE na. Right? With respect to y, tapos tingnan niyo yung partial nito with respect to x, kung dapat silang dalawa ay equal. Kasi nga ang promise, pag sinunod mo yung procedure ng pagko-compute ng integrating factor na pinakita ko kanina, dapat yung lalabas na ODE ay exact na. So dapat ito ay exact. So we can say that this is exact. So ibig sabihin kapag ka-exact yung ODE, ano nga yung ibig sabihin nun? Pag exact yung ODE, ibig sabihin there exists a function f, or let's call it capital F. There exists a function capital F such that the total derivative of f ay na equal sa partial ni f with respect to x dx plus partial ni f with respect to y dy ay magiging equal sa dito sa respective terms ay magiging equal dun sa left hand side ng ating ODE. So ito dapat ay equal dito, right? Pero if you do a term by term comparison, itong may dx dito at saka yung may dx dito dapat equal sila sa isa't isa. So ibig sabihin dapat yung partial ni f with respect to x, yung partial ni f with respect to x ay dapat equal dito sa naka-multiply kay dx. Tapos itong partial ni f with respect to y ay equal dapat dun sa naka-multiply kay dy. Yan yung sabi sa atin ng pagiging exact ng differential equation. Okay? So thus, we will have two equations. The first of which is, again, the partial of f with respect to x should be equal to this guy. Okay? Should be equal to, or actually, yeah, it should be equal to x squared plus y squared plus 1 over x squared. Right? Kasi ito nga dapat ay equal dito. Okay? Now, we're looking for the function big F. Kasi yung function big F equals a constant, yun yung magiging solution dun sa ating exact ODE. Alright? So I want to know how F looks like. So what I'll do now is, oops, dapat pen yung ginamit ko. The function F will be equal to, but hold on, let me just note that big F is a function of both x and y. ito ay equal sa integral ng right-hand side, x squared plus y squared plus 1 divided by x squared with respect to the variable x. Now, in this integral, si y ay treated to be a constant. Okay? Then I can just simplify it first. So I will have integral lang siya ni 1 plus y squared over x squared plus x to the negative 2 dx. Okay? So, pinaghiwa-hiwalay ko lang yung tatlong terms doon sa integrand para mag-term by term integration ako. Alright? Now, integral of 1 is just equal to x plus integral ng y squared over x squared. Pwede ko itong tingnan as integral ng y squared x to the negative 2 dx, right? Pero si y ay treated to be a constant sa integration with respect to x. So y squared will come out and then we'll just be left with the integral ni x to the negative 2. Pero ang integral ni x to the negative 2 ay x to the negative 1 over negative 1. So magiging minus x to the negative 1 times y squared na lamang siya. And then here, integral ng integral ng x to the negative 2 ay parehas din. Ito ay x to the negative 1 over negative 1. So I'll have negative x to the negative 1 plus supposedly an arbitrary constant, but we have a function big F of both x and y. Nag-integrate tayo with respect to x. So ibig sabihin meron tayo ditong function that only depends on y, which we want to determine. Okay? Let me see kung tama ba yung solution ko. Just let me know kung merong problema. Okay, so I think we're good so far. Okay? So ito yung ansatz natin para kay Big F. Hindi pa to yung final answer para kay Big F because we don't know how the function little g looks like. All we know is that little g is a function of y alone. Okay? Kailangan ko siyang isolve. Saan manggagaling yon? Remember, yung solution natin sa exact, meron pa tayong isang alam na equation. Dapat yung partial ni f with respect to y ito sa multiplier natin kay dy. Alright? So this guy should match with this guy. Okay? So yun yung gagawin ko. So moreover, we have partial of f with respect to y ay dapat equal dito, which is 1 over x times x minus 2y. Okay? So that means, pag sinolve ko yung partial ni f with respect to y following these ansatz, dapat equal siya dito. Hopefully, mag-equal siya. Alright? Ito yung hula natin kay Big F. Ipa-partial ko siya with respect kay y para malaman ko ano yung itsura ng left side. Pag pinartial ko siya with respect to y, yay, ito ay constant. So with respect to y, so ang derivative niya ay 0. Ito naman ay partial niya with respect to y. Ito ay magiging treated as a constant yung x to the negative 1. Partial nito with respect to y. So magkakaroon tayo ng 2y times x to the negative 1. Okay. And then, x to the negative 1, ang partial niya with respect to y ay 0. So we don't have any term for that. And then this guy, derivative ng g prime, derivative ni g with respect to y ay g prime lamang. Okay. And this should be equal to this side. Simplify ko lang. Ito ay magiging 1 minus 2y over x. Okay. But 2y over x is the same as 2y x to the negative 1. So I can add this guy to both sides. Actually, hindi pala i-add. Magsusubtract ako both sides by this guy. So this will be canceled by that one. Okay? So matitira na lamang ay, dito na lang sa ilalim, g prime of y ay equal lamang kay 1. Okay? Tapos, para malaman ko ano talaga yung itsura ni g, i-integrate ko lamang ito. So therefore, g of y is equal to the integral of dy, all right, which is equal to y plus an arbitrary constant c. Okay? So kung hindi clear kung ano yung nangyari before, you can add additional step here. Anong additional step? Susulat mo muna yung dg equals, magkakaroon ka ng dg over dy. Yun yung derivative ni g with respect to y. Equal daw siya kay 1. Then multiply dy to both sides. So magkakaroon ka lang ng dg equals dy. Integral nito ay g equals y plus a constant c. Okay? So therefore, we now know how G looks like. So ibig sabihin, yung solution natin kay F, yung ansatz, makukompleto na natin kasi si G of Y ay equal lamang kay Y. Let me copy this to the next slide. So hence, here is our solution. Ito yung hula natin kay F. Okay. Tapos, alam na natin si G ay Y plus C. Then we just equate it to some constant. Let's call the constant L. Okay? Kasi nga, anything or the form of F equal to any constant is another solution. Now, to simplify, para makuha yung general solution, pagsasamahin ko na lang itong dalawang arbitrary constant. So therefore, our solution will look like x minus x to the negative 1 y squared minus x to the negative 1 plus y equals some constant k is the general solution to the ODE. End of solution. Right? Does the solution make sense? Any questions? Kaparehas na ba ito yung nasa slides? Pag sinimplify. Yeah, I think so, no? Nagkaiba lang kami ng constant. Ang ginagawa kasi ni slide, in-equate lang to sa 0. Pero ideally, dapat equal siya sa kahit anong constant. Pero dahil yung arbitrary constant lang naman ay any number, so eventually magpaparehas lang kami. Right? Okay, let's look at another example. Bago mamili si Zaira kung gusto niya nang magpa-homework sa section na ito kasi siya yung umattend ngayon, so sa kanya ko ibibigay yung power to choose. But before doing that, let's consider another example. So 2y times x squared minus y plus x dx plus x squared minus 2y dy. Nag-react si Zaira, na pressure siguro siya. Sabi niya siguro, bakit pa kasi ako umattend ngayon, ano? But anyway, okay, let's see. Let's try the solution. Again, you can write your solution as if you are checking muna kung siya ay exact or hindi. So, gagawin ko, I will let capital M, a function of both x and y, to be kung ano yung na-multiply kay dx. All right? So this would be 2y times x squared minus y plus x. But perhaps it would be better to have an expanded form. Baka kasi mamaya magpa-partial derivative ako. Mas madali kapag ka naka-expand na sila kaysa magpa-product rule pa ako mamaya. So I'll write it as 2x squared y squared plus 2xy. Right? Pa-double check na lang ng aking algebra. And I will let n of xy to be what was multiplied to dy. So we'll have the simple function x squared minus 2y. And then tingnan natin yung mga partial, right? Para lang makita or ma-verify kung exact siya or hindi. Tapos kung hindi siya exact, magagamit ko rin naman yung mga partials para dun sa paghahanap ng integrating factor, right? So then we can note that the partial of m with respect to y, yung kukunin kong partial kasi si m ay nakamultiply kay dx. So nagkakaroon ng crisscrossing dito ng partial differentiation. Okay? So partial ni m with respect to y ay equal lamang kay 2x squared minus 4y plus 2x, right? So ito, pinartial ko lang with respect to y. And ang partial ni n ay equal kay 2x. Clearly, these two things are not equal to each other. So therefore, our ODE is not exact, at least at the moment. So the question is, can I turn this into to an exact ODE by introducing an integrating factor? Meaning, can I multiply both sides by a function u, hopefully of a single variable, so that the resulting ODE will be exact? Now, ito na yung nakita natin dun sa cases kanina. Kailangan lang nating i-check kung single lang yung variable, either nung 1 over n ng partial ni m with respect to y minus partial ni n with respect to x. Alright? Fingers crossed, sana ito ay function of x alone. Kung hindi siya kung hindi siya function of x alone, you can check -1 over m ng partial ni m with respect to y minus partial ni n with respect to x. Tapos tingnan kung ito ay function lamang ni y. Right? Pag hindi pa rin, then unfortunately, you need to look for another solution. Okay? So yun yung hirap sa 151 or sa pagsasolve ng ODEs in general. You have to be cautious about what form you're working with. Kasi hindi lahat ng methods ay nag-work para sa isang specific ODE. Piling-pili lamang yung kung saan nag-work yung mga methods na kino-consider natin so far. Kasi wala pa tayong general theory of everything for ODEs. Wala tayong template kung paano sinosolve lahat ng forms ng isang ODE. So talagang i-check muna natin kung ano yung mag-apply ba yung mga methods na natutunan na natin para dun sa ODE na yon. Right? But going back to our example, I am praying that this is a function of x alone. Kasi kapag hindi kayo na-simplify na x lamang yung variable, babalik ako doon sa titingnan ko naman yung case 2. Yung -1 over m times the same difference kung siya ay function naman ni y. Okay? But let's see, baka naman di ko kailangan pumunta ron. So, simplify ko muna kunin ko muna itong difference na to. So, it's gonna be 2x squared minus 4y plus 2x minus 2x divided by n, which is equal to 2x. May mali ba akong ginawa? Parang hindi siya magiging function of x alone. Sorry, eto na naman. Mali na naman yung ginawa ko. Yung denominator niya ay si n. So, dapat x squared minus 2y yung denominator niya. Alright? So, let's see. Okay na ba to? Lagi ako may nami-miss dito. Kaya lang luckily, napaka-specific ng form na hinahanap natin. So, kaya kong matrace kung may mali akong ginawa sa algebra. Alright? So, essentially, this would be 2x squared minus 4x squared minus 2y. Medyo masaya ako kasi rito, pwede akong mag-factor ng 2 sa numerator. I'll have x squared minus 4y squared minus 4y. The x squared minus 4y will cancel each other out. So, etong expression na to, hindi lang siya function of x alone, pero it's even better. It is a constant. Alright? So, ibig sabihin, wala siyang variable na y, so pwede ko itong gamitin as integrating factor. Okay? Kasi nga, wala siyang y na involved. So, mas madali yung if natin para dito. So, thus, our integrating factor is a function of x alone. It is e to the integral of our simplified expression kanina, which is simply 2. Okay. Tapos, with respect to x. Kasi ang tines ko yung 1 over m times partial, ang chinek ko ay yung 1 over n times partial ni m with respect to y minus partial ni n with respect to x. Pag ito yung chinek nyo, laging gusto mo function na walang y. Dapat function lang siya at most of x alone. Tapos i-integrate mo to with respect to x. Pero kung ang chinek mo ay -1 over m times partial ni m with respect to y minus partial ni n with respect to x, doon ka naman papasok sa case number 2. Ang gusto mo ito ay mangyari ay function lamang siya ni y. Tapos ito, i-integrate mo siya with respect to y. Okay? So sana clear yung cases, all right? Specific kung kanino ka nag-i-integrate. Depende yung kung sino yung integrand na kinonsider niya. So here it's easy. Integral ng 2dx is just 2x plus an arbitrary constant c. But again, we choose c to be equal to 0. Hence, our integrating factor is e to the 2x. Alright? Para mas simple. But of course, kung gusto nyong iba yung i-consider, mag-add ng constant, then that's fine. Exact pa rin yung lalabas na ODE. Right? So, hence, we have the following ODE. I-multiply ko yung nakuhan, yung ODE natin na original by e to the power 2x. So what we'll have is this. E to the power 2x times 2y. Pwede ko pala itong i-ano na, no? I-expand uli yung m. So ito ay 2x squared y minus 2y squared plus 2xy. Ito yung nanggaling dun sa original ODE plus e to the 2x times n. N is x squared minus 2y equals 0. Kasi nag-multiply lang naman ako ng e to the 2x to both sides. And then the thing here is that this should be exact. Is exact. Sure na tayo dyan kasi pinili natin yung integrating factor in such a way that we are guaranteed that the product that we get represents the right-hand side or the left-hand side of an exact ODE. Right? Dahil siya exact, there exists a capital F such that the total derivative of f will be equal to the partial of f with respect to x times dx plus partial of f with respect to y ay equal kay, partial ni f with respect to y dy. Okay? And this should be equal to the left-hand side of our ODE. So dapat ito ay equal dito. Ito yung property ng pagiging exact. Sorry, nawala dito yung dy, nawala dito yung dx. So ito yung dy, ito yung dx. Baliktad pala, sorry. Ito yung may dx, ito yung may dx, ito yung may dy, ito yung may dx, ito yung may dy. Okay? Yeah, thank you, Syra. Late ko siya nakita. Okay. Nakita ko na-realize ko na mali siya kasi or nakulang ako kasi ngayon i-compare ko sino dito yung may mga sino sa kanila yung equal sa isa't isa. So yung may mga dx, sila dapat yung equal sa isa't isa. So this guy should be equal to this guy. Tapos yung partial ni f with respect to y dapat equal siya dito. Okay? So let's do that, no? So that means nagamit ko na yung nagamit ko na yung then. So, ano yung pwede kong magamit na word pa ulit? It follows that, naubusan na ako ng mga connective. It follows that yung partial ni f with respect to with respect to x, ay equal kay e to the 2x times 2x squared y minus 2y squared plus 2xy. Okay? So ito dapat yung partial ni f with respect to x. Now to get our ansatz for f, para makita natin ano yung hula natin or template natin para kay capital F, kailangan ko lang i-integrate both sides after multiplying both sides by the differential of x. Alright? So integrate ko both sides, nakakaroon ako nito. Si f, which is a function of two variables, x and y, will be equal to the integral of e to the 2x times 2x squared y minus 2y squared plus 2xy dx. Okay? Tapos ngayon, mag-change ako ng variables. Or before I do that, maybe I should expand the integrand. So this would be 2x squared e to the 2x times y. Hinuli ko talaga yung y kasi constant lang naman si y with respect to x. So I don't need to bother myself with this guy, right? Tapos minus 2y squared e to the 2x plus 2x e to the 2x times y dx. Okay? So dito muna tayo sa unang term. Term by term integration tayo. So ito, gusto ko munang i-integrate yung 2x squared e to the 2x times y with respect to x. Integral to with respect to x, so pwedeng ilabas ko na kagad si y. Kasi constant lang naman siya, so lalabas na siya doon. Tapos dito, magle-let you ako ng what? Or kailan ko mag-IDP pala rito, no? Hold on, tama pa ba ang pinagagawa ko? Huh? Kasi mag-i-integration by parts ako. Yeah. Gusto kong iwanan yung integration by parts eh. Aha. Kaya lang ganun din yung mangyayari kapag kinuha ko naman, mas madali pala na nag-integrate na lang muna ako with respect to y. Kasi kung mapapansin nyo, ito, right, ay dapat equal kay partial of f with respect to y. Kung gagawin kong parallel yung solution, ibig sabihin ang makukuha ko yung ansatz para kay capital F by integrating this guy with respect to y. Pero dahil mag-i-integrate ako with respect to y, eto ay e to the 2x times x squared. It's a constant with respect to y. So madali yung integral niya. Matitira lang ay constant with respect to y times negative 2y. Tapos yun yung i-integrate ko. So mukha pala na dapat dito ako mag-i-integrate. Okay? Kasi mas madali yung magiging solution. Maiiwasan ko yung pag-integration by parts at least twice. Kasi kailangan ko mag-IBP rito, kailangan ko mag-IBP rito, pero I guess dalawang IBP or tatlong IBP yung kailangan ko para sa term na to. Right? So this is a lesson that sometimes we need to be what do you call this? Discerning kung ano yung part ng solution na madaling gawin. Parang nasanay tayo na yung template, yung partial ni f with respect to x ay equal kay m. Pero ngayon, ang problema ko, ang hirap i-integrate yung nakuha ko. Pero wala namang nagsabi na dito dapat tayo nagsisimula palagi. Pwede namang ang gawin ko yung partial ni f with respect to y, gamitin kong equal dito, alright? At doon ako mag-i-integrate para mas makahanap ako ng mas madaling paraan para mahanap natin yung ansatz para kay capital F. Alright? So I will change my solution because though it can be done, right? If you're patient enough, you can get the same answer pagka tinuloy niyo yung solution ko. Pero gusto ko rito ipakita na kailangan minsan magaling tayong mamili kung alin yung madaling i-integrate. Right? So now, I will do this solution. Partial ni f with respect to y ay equal kay e to the 2x times x squared minus 2y. Okay? Ito yung pangalawang equation. And then that means the function capital F of the variables x and y will just be the integral of e to the 2x times x squared minus 2y, but this time with respect to y. Okay? So lahat ng may mga x's lamang, they are treated to be constant. And here, e to the 2x doesn't have a y, so it is treated as this e to the 2x can readily go out of the integral. So maging e to the 2x, integral na lamang siya ng x squared minus 2y dy. Mas madali siyang i-manage. Okay? Tapos, ang mangyayari, ito ay magiging equal sa, saan to magiging equal? Magiging e to the 2x times, okay, integral na nito. Ang integral niya ngayon ay x squared y, okay, then minus y squared plus an arbitrary constant. Not an arbitrary constant, pero an arbitrary function of the variable x. Right? Kasi nga nag-integrate tayo with respect to y, so instead of a plus c, kailangan constant siya with respect to y. Pero any function that has the variable x alone is constant with respect to y. Kaya meron tayo dito g of x. So this is our answers for capital F, right? So let me just copy this to the next slide. Okay. So ito yung answers natin for f of xy. Dapat ito ay equal rito. Yan. So equal siya dyan. Tapos, ano pa yung isa nating alam, yung hindi pa natin nagagamit? Moreover, we know that the partial of f with respect to x must be equal to this guy. Ito yung sinukuan ko kanina pag i-integrate, right? Kasi nakita ko, mas madali kung with respect to y ako mag integrate. Okay? So, ito yung nakita natin. Pero, pag nag-integrate ako kay f with respect to the variable x, what will we have? Well, ito ay i-integrate ko with respect to x. So, ngayon, magpa-product rule ako. Okay? So, pag nag-product rule ako, I'll get e to the 2x times derivative of the second factor with respect to x. So that just be 2xy. Tapos derivative ni y squared with respect to x ay 0 plus derivative ni g ay g prime. Okay. Plus, copy the first. So we'll have x squared y minus y squared plus g of x times derivative ni e to the 2x, it will be e to the 2x times 2 via the chain rule. Tapos ito dapat ay equal dito. All right. And then one observation is that the first term here has an e to the 2x. This guy has the 2x. So I can divide both sides by e to the 2x. So magiging 2xy plus g prime x. Okay. Plus, simplify ko na lang to, i-multiply ko na yung 2 papasok. So I'll have plus 2x squared y minus 2y squared plus 2g of x ay equal kay 2x squared y minus 2y squared plus 2xy. Okay? Tama pa ba yung mga pinagagawa ko? Hopefully, I didn't miss anything major. Okay? Tapos tingnan natin, hopefully makakancel ito paunti-unti. Okay? So meron akong 2xy dito, y dito. So I can subtract both sides by 2xy. Okay? And then itong 2x squared dito mawawala. Matitira lang ito. And then itong negative 2y squared makakancel by this guy. So therefore, what we have here is that g prime of x ay magiging equal kay 2g of x. Alright? Tapos ngayon, hindi siya madaling i-integrate right away. So ang gagawin ko muna, kakaroon ako ng dg over dx. That's another way to write g prime. Okay? Ito ay equal kay 2g, okay, or 2g of x. And then I can, what? Yeah, I can separate the variables, those with g's and those with x's alone. Pwede ko silang pagsama-samahin. So in this case, I'll have dg over g equals 2dx. And then now I integrate. Okay, so if I integrate, the left side is ln, absolute value of g. And then the right side would be 2x plus an arbitrary constant c. All right? Tapos gagamitin ko both sides as an exponent for e. So that means g of x will be equal to e to the 2x plus c. Or I can write it as e to the 2x times e to the c, loss of exponents, but c is an arbitrary constant, so e to the c is just a constant, but we don't know what the exact value of c is or e to the c is. So pwede ko na lang itong isulat na k times e to the 2x, where k is a positive number. Okay? And I guess now we have fully satisfied our answers. So copying ko ito. Ito yung hula natin para kay Ito yung hula natin para kay F. Copying ko siya sa susunod na slide. Tapos si G ay papalitan ko lamang ng K e to the 2x. So wala na pala akong space. So magdagdag na lang ako ng isang page. So therefore, our general solution is this guy. Okay. Kaya lang papalitan ko na yung g of x. Ang g of x natin ay k e to the 2x. And then this is equal to a constant L. Alright, ito yung medyo mahirap ng pagsamahin yung constants k and L. So I'll stop here. Hindi ko na siya isa-simplify anymore. But here k is a positive number. And capital L is any real number. Wala tayong restriction kay capital L. Okay, so this is our general solution. Okay. Okay, take some time to digest this. Dun sa mga nanonood ng recording, but do you have any questions, Ira?
Sir, bali hindi po considered na constant yung KE2X. Kailangan pa rin pong i-note na may K po doon.
Yes, kailangan. Para para ma-consider natin lahat ng possible solutions. Hold on. Sine-check ko dun sa PowerPoint para magkaiba kami ng sagot. So where did I mess up? So double check ko lang balik ako sa previous page. So kinompute natin yung partial ni f with respect to x. So nakuha natin ay a to the 2x, so 2xy. Yeah, parehas kami ng integrating factor na e to the 2x. Tapos minultiply ko both sides. Nag-ano siya, nag-factoring siya. But I guess we have it at least in principle, yung solution nito. Just sa FY, partial ni f with respect to y. Ano nangyari natin sa FY? Sa FY, partial ni f with respect to y, e to the 2x x squared minus e to the 2x to y. Parehas pa rin kami, Syra, nitong partial ni f with respect to y. Pero may ginawa siyang simplification. Pero, yeah. Kasi pinagkaiba namin ay yung g niya ay constant lang, no? Bakit yung g ko ay hindi constant? Partial ni f with respect to x. So 2x squared times 2xy, okay, minus 2y squared e to the x plus Bakit magkaiba kami ng ansatz kay capital F? E to the 2x times x squared y, so that's fine. Minus y squared, e to the 2x, that's fine. Plus g of x, parehas naman kami nito. So nung pinartial ko to with respect to x, ano yung partial nito with respect to x? Well, yung partial niya with respect to x ay ito. Dapat siya e to the 2x E to the 2x times, saan na kami nagkaiba? Kasi nakuha niya lang ang g prime ay equal sa constant. Ang g prime ay equal sa, sorry, ang nakuha niya ay g prime ay equal kay, hindi ko makita eksakto kung ano yung nangyari sa kanya. Parang nakuha niya ay g prime equal kay e to the 2x. Pero ako ay may g. Bakit ako may g? Kasi ako ay nag-product rule. So, ito yung ansatz natin. Okay, hold on. Parang may kulang ako. No. Ito yung right-hand side na kinonsider ko mula dun sa given. Tapos partial ni f with respect to x. Pinartial ko to with respect to x. E to the 2x times the derivative. So I'll get 2xy plus g prime of x. Negative y squared has derivative 0. Then I copy the second function from there. I copy the second function here. Tas derivative ng e to the 2x ay e to the 2x times 2. Yeah, let me double check the one on the slides. Pero hindi ko makita kung saan yung problema dito sa solution natin. Yeah, just let me know if nakita nyo guys, lalo na pati dun sa mga nanonood ng recording. Did I mess up somewhere in this set of slides? So comment down below So kung meron akong problema. Okay, but I hope at least in principle clear yung nangyayari. Okay? Now, may isa pang example. Do you want to continue with this one more example or okay na ba yun? Para ma-record ko na rin yung susunod na set of slides. Siguro I'll leave this to be a reading assignment, the solution to this one. Nandun siya sa handout naman. So kindly read the solution, but I hope the process is clear. At least nakita niyo yung step by step. It's okay if on the first try, hindi niyo pa saulado yung steps, Pero hopefully it becomes more natural later. Pero at least sana yung step by step procedure kaya niyong gawin. Even if you have ever you're doing the solution. Tapos as we go nearer and nearer the exam date, nasisimulan nyo nang sauluhin kung ano yung gagawin kapag meron tayong exact differential. Or pag meron tayong non-exact differential equation, pero posible tayong makahanap ng integrating factor that can make it exact. Alright? So, ito na yung tanong ko kay Zaira. Gusto mo ba magpa-homework for this particular section? Ito yung magiging options para dun sa homework. Pero parang yung number 1 ay nandun sa examples. Hold on. X squared. 2y siya. X squared. Replay na tong number 1. Nasaan na siya? Nasa examples na siya. Zaira, gusto mo ba magpa-homework about this? Or yung sa next slide na? Or next slideshow na? Ayaw sumagot ni Zaira. Sige, ako na yung magde-decide. Homework na to. I forgot kung homework number na. So, hindi daw sure. Pero I think it will be a good exercise para mapwersa kayo na mag-solve ng kahit isang isang integrating factor dito sa section na to, right? So, this will be your homework and this will be due on October 21. Tama? Before tayo pumunta ng reading break, right? So, let's put it at 9:59 a.m. Right? Okay. So, pili lang uli kayo ng isa. Ipopost ko naman to kay Canva. So, you choose only one among the 4 problems, numbers 2 to 5. and then solve them accordingly. Just a hint of advice, kung ako yung susulat ng midterm exam, alright? So, di ba maraming mga methods? Pero kung makikita nyo, itong nasa section 2.8, itong diniscuss natin ngayon, na i-incorporate niya sa loob niya yung pagsosolve ng mga exact differential equations. So kung ako yung susulat ng exam and I want to hit two birds with one stone, ask you one problem from this section. Kasi pag na-solve nyo yung problem mula sa section na to, ibig sabihin pinagdaanan nyo rin yung pagsosolve ng exact ODE. Kaya wag nyo i-skip etong section na to. Kasi pag minalas kayo at ako yung nagsulat ng midterm exam, siguradong may isang tanong mula rito. Kasi pag nagtanong ako ng isa dito, na-cover ko na yung dalawang sections, 2.8 and the section on exact differential equations. Okay? So yun, hint lang or parang word of advice. Ano? So laging ganun kasi tinitingnan ko, hitting several birds with only one stone. Okay? Questions or clarifications? So kung walang tanong si Zaira, I'll go to common integrating factors. Pero I know it's already late. It's 9:16 na. So if you want to leave, Zaira, it's fine. I'll just carry on and discuss this set of slides. Probably 2 examples here para lang matapos na natin yung section 2. I decided na hindi na i-consider yung section 2.10, which is yung modeling problem ng autonomous DEs. So baka kasi hindi natin maabot yung coverage ng midterm. We only have 1 week left before the reading break. So I'll just skip the optional topic and focus more on the more required ones. Okay? So the last section is about integrating factors that are common in nature, or these are the integrating factors that you can find via inspection. Ano yung ibig sabihin that you can look at them via inspection? So kailangan yung humanap or kailangan yung i-expand yung given ODE at sana lamang may makita ka na x dy plus y dx. Kasi pag may na-isolate ka na x dy plus y dx, pwede mo yung paltan ng dxy. Right? Bakit? Kasi product rule. Ang differential ng xy ay equal sa x differential ni y plus y differential ni x. So parang product rule ng derivatives. Nawawala lang yung denominators kasi product rule ito for differentials. Right? So the idea is try to expand the given ODE and hope that you will get x dy plus y dx. Because if you have that, pwede mo siyang palitan ng dxy. At bakit siya maganda? Kasi pag nag-integrate ka ng dxy, right, equal lang to kay xy, right? Plus c, plus constant c. Kasi di ba, pag nag-integrate ka ng x dx, pag nag-integrate ka ng dx, equal lang to kay x plus c, right? Kasi yung integral, inverse process siya ng differentiation. Okay? So ganun din dito, yung integral followed by its inverse will just give us the argument. So matitira lang ay yung xy plus an arbitrary constant. Okay? So preparation to mamaya pag mag-i-integrate ka na. Then there are other options. Pwede naman yung nanggaling sa quotient rule, right? The differential of x over y, gagamit ka lang ng parang quotient rule, low squared, tapos ang numerator ay low d high minus high d low. Y times differential of the high function times minus high function times the differential of the low function. So ngayon, ang gagawin mo naman, expand mo si ODE and then try to see if you can come up with y dx minus x dy over y squared. Pag nakakita ka niyan, papalitan mo na siya ng dxy. And similarly, you want this in preparation for integration. Kasi yung integral ng d of xy ay equal lamang kanina. Can you equal ang integral ng integral ng differential ni x over y. Ito lamang ay, so parang naka-cancel yung integral at saka yung differential, natitira lang si xy o si x over y plus c. Okay? Tapos pag nabaligtad naman sila, baka naman na makuha mo yung x dy minus y dx over x squared, siya naman yung differential ni y over x. Tapos, baka naman, ang makuha mo ay ganito yung itsura. Alright? So, paano siya naging ganyan? Well, i-differentiate natin to or kukunin natin yung differential, right? Ang differential ng arctangent ng isang number ay 1 ng isang function. It's y over 1 plus the argument squared. Yan yung differential ng arctangent of something. It's 1 over 1 plus something squared. Kaya lang yung something natin ay y over x, hindi lamang siya x. So mamumultiply pa to ng derivative ni y over x or differential ni y over x. Pero ang differential ni y over x according to the quotient rule ay x squared x dy minus y dx. And then if you simplify this product, you get this one. Okay? Kasi ito ay magiging y squared over x squared. Tapos i-add ko yung fractions na nandito sa ilalim. So magiging x squared plus y squared over x squared siya. Eh meron akong x squared dito, maka-cancel yung x squared na nandito. Matitira ay ito, which is that guy, all over x squared plus y squared, that guy. Alright? So baka, pag in-expand mo yung ODE, makakita ka nito, gagawin mo, papalitan mo lang siya ng arctangent of y over x. Kaya lang ayoko makakita nito. Bakit? Pwede pala. Kasi pag in-integrate ko lang to, pag in-integrate ko yan, mawawala lang yung integral, mawawala lang yung differential, matitira lang ay arctan of y over x plus constancy. So wala pala akong problema. Okay? So ito ay pagalingan namang mag-expand at mag-inspect. Kaya ko bang makuha yung isa sa mga right-hand sides na ito? Okay? So let's show how this is done or how this is applied to some problems. So let's try this first. Y times y cubed minus x dx plus x times y cubed plus x dy. Gagawin ko ay mag-expand ako ngayon. And let me see if I can come up with any of the forms na nakita natin kanina. So I'll do this. Expand ko lang. So I'll have y to the fourth dx minus xy dx plus xy cubed plus x squared. Nawala yung dy. So ito ay may dy plus x squared dy equal kay 0. Okay, then I'll try to play the game of combining like terms, splitting terms, factoring out kuha nung isa sa mga forms na nandun sa kanina. But remember, nakukuha ko sila by combining yung may dx at saka yung may dy. Right? So parang ang mangyayari ay ano kaya? Pagalingan kasi itong mamili eh. Sige, try ko ito. Y to the fourth dx. Kapag ka meron kang dx, ang kapartner niya ay may dy dapat. So either I pair y square, I'll group y to the fourth dx with either xy cubed dy or x squared dy. Kasi kailangan yung unang term may dx, yung pangalawang term may dy. Bakit? Kasi tingnan niyo yung mga forms na hinanap natin. Yung isa ay dx, yung isa ay dy. Yung isa ay dx, yung isa ay dy. Yung isa ay dy, yung isa ay dx. Yung isa ay dy, yung isa ay dx. So pag nag-group ka ng terms, dapat magkaiba yung differential. Okay? Kaya lang, pag ang pinili kong ipag-group ay yung y to the fourth dx, at saka pipili ako ng isang may dy, no? Halimbawa, plus x squared dy. Wala ito dun sa mga form na nakita natin kanina. Right? Wala na akong pwedeng ma-factor kasi wala namang common monomial factor yung y to the fourth at saka x squared. Kaya lang wala akong makikita dun sa previous slide na form na merong y to the fourth tapos merong x squared dito. Wala tayong easy formula for that. Okay? So isa lang yung option ko. Ang gagawin ko ngayon, i-group ko yung first at saka yung third term. So I'll have y to the fourth plus dx plus xy cube dy. Then I'll have plus x squared minus xy. Hindi ko pala nawawala yung mga differential, no? Ginugroup ko lang siya minus x y dx. Alright? So ito ay nandun. Ito ay napunta doon sa group na yan. Itong negative xy, andun siya. Yung x squared dy, andun siya. So, rearranging terms and trying to see which combination will work. In the first group, I can factor out a y cubed. Factor ako dyan ng y cubed, matitira ay y dx plus x dy. And I'm a bit happy here because this guy is exactly what? This is d of xy. Tama? Kasi para ka nag-product rule dito. So medyo feeling ko tama yung napili ko. Because again, this is y cubed times the differential of x times y. Okay? Sana ganun din yung makukuha natin mula dun sa second term. Dun sa second term, I can factor a what? I can factor out an x and be left with x dy minus y equal k0. Okay? Kaya lang, hindi tayo kasing certain nung kanina. Kasi rito, meron tayong minus sa gitna. So, kaya lang, alin dun sa mga formulas before, dun sa mga common differentials, ang may negative sa gitna. Kung titingnan natin, nagkakaroon ka lang ng negative sa gitna kapag ka nag-quotient rule ka. Kaya lang pag nag-quotient rule ka, dapat meron kang y squared o kaya x squared sa denominator. Okay? Or meron kang x squared plus y squared sa denominator. But this guy is hard to come by. Mas madali kung ito lamang yung kulang. Alright? So, ang gagawin ko ngayon ay mandadaya ako ng konti. Alright? So, ang gagawin ko ngayon, titingnan ko, pwede ko ba itong gawin? Well, may leftover na x. Tapos gusto dy minus y dx ay magkaroon ng denominator na x squared. Kasi low squared, low di high, minus high di low. Kaya alam ko x squared dapat yung nandito sa ilalim. Alright? Dahil x squared dapat yung nasa ilalim kasi ito. X dy minus y dx over x squared. Galing sa chain rule. X dy minus y dx kailangan ng x squared. Pero hindi ko kaya basta-bastang maglagay ng x squared kasi wala naman to dun sa original. So kailangan i-multiply ko pabalik yung x squared. Para pag nag-simplify ako, makakancel lang yung x squared na nandun, saka yung in-introduce ko na denominator na x squared, I'll be back to where we started in this expression. Kailangan ko lang talaga na mapuwersa na may x squared dito para ito ay mapalitan ng derivative ni y over x or differential ni y over x. Okay? So what will we end up with? So tingnan natin. Kakaroon ako ng y cubed dxy plus I'll have x cubed derivative ng y over x. Ito ay equal kay 0. Okay? And then now I'll try to separate the variables. Pero when I say variables, it's in quotation marks. Kasi ngayon, ang kinoconsider na natin na variables ay yung nasa loob ng differentials. So ang variables natin ay xy and y over x. Kasi sila yung mga nasa differentials. Okay? So ngayon, try ko ngayong i-separate yung may mga xy at saka yung may mga y over x. Pero at this particular point, hindi pa siya ganon kadaling makita, right? But I can, paghiwalayin ko muna yung mga differentials. So we'll have y cubed d equals negative x cubed dy over x. Okay? Tapos, pag nag-divide ako ng x cubed to both sides, I will have a y cubed over x cubed, pero nakapartner siya sa dxy. Hindi ko siya mai-integrate ng maganda kasi pag mag-i-integrate ako sa left side, dapat laging magka-combo yung x at saka si y. This, if I will divide both sides by y cubed, I will have dxy equals negative x cubed over y cubed times dy over x. It seems na hindi rin ganon kaganda yung ginawa kong look at this. I can write the right-hand side this way. I can write it as the negative of y over x to the negative 3. So, ni-reciprocate ko lang siya, and that comes at the cost of a negative exponent. And then, kinuha ko yung common power nila na 3. So again, if you try to simplify this using basic laws of exponents, you'll get this guy, which is exactly what we want. But I particularly prefer this form, right? Kasi ito ay mamumultiply ng dy over x. Because now you can think of dy over x as a single variable u. Isipin mo na lang lahat ng y over x na nakikita mo ay u. So essentially, ang mangyayari dito ay meron kang negative u to the negative 3 du, where u is equal to y over x, right? Parang superficial change of variable lamang. Okay? Dahil pinalitan ko na yung nasa loob ng differential, hindi ko na kailangang computein ngayon saan equal si du. Alright? Kasi nagawa na natin yan. Si kinuha ko na yung differential ni y over x kaagad. Right? So ang itsura nito ay negative u to the negative 3 derivative ng y over x. Or in other words, we will have integral ng dxy ay equal kay integral ng negative u to the negative 3 du, right? Integral ng negative u to the minus 3 du. So, ito na yung gagawin ko. Mag-i-integrate na ako ngayon. Integral ng dxy ay xy lamang. Then the derivative of this guy is negative u, negative u to the negative 2 over negative 2 plus an arbitrary constant c. All right? And then let's just simplify this. We'll get xy equals negative, magiging positive na. Positive ng 1 over 2 u squared plus c. Okay? And then we revert to the original variable. Remember, u is just y over x. Si u ay y over x lamang. So, we'll have 2y over x quantity squared plus c. And then simplify further. This will just be xy equals what? X squared over 2y squared plus c. Okay? And you can leave your final answers this way. Or you can divide both sides by x. Kaya lang hindi rin pala siya magiging explicit kasi may y pa rin dun sa right-hand side. Okay? But this is one example on how you take advantage of integrating factors that can be seen by mere inspection. Actually, hindi pala mere inspection. Kasi nag-expand muna tayo tapos we did some tricks para may mga ma-isolate na desired terms. Okay? Medyo tricky itong part na to kasi kailangan magaling kang mag-isolate. Magaling kang humanap ng pattern. Sino yung magsaswak dun sa mga common integrating factors o dun sa common differential forms na nakita natin earlier. Okay? Now, perhaps one more example. Kasi medyo gabi na. Para makapagpahinga na si Zaira, no? So, isa na lang example. And luckily, hindi ito yung pina-homework ko sa inyo, no? Kasi mas tricky ito kaysa dun sa 2.9. Sorry, sa 2.8. Medyo mechanical yung 2.8. Ito ay kailangan medyo cunning ka ng konti. Medyo magaling kang humanap ng patterns. But I'll try as much as possible to give you an idea of how to discern the pattern. Kasi hindi rin ako magaling magsaulo, hindi rin ako gaanong visual. Pero ang ginagawa ko, tinitingnan ko kung ano nga ba yung mga ginawa dati. Alright, binabalikan ko siya. At ano yung mga forms na gusto kong makuha. Alright? So kapag ganito yung solution, o pag ganito yung problem, try kong i-expand. So I'll have, expand ko siya. So I'll have x cubed, y cubed, dx, plus dx, plus x to the fourth, y squared, dy equals 0. Okay. Ang tanong ngayon, kanino ko i-pair yung x squared y? Dito ba or dito ba? Alright? Ang idea kasi dapat may common ka na ma-factor. Pag pinag-pair mo yung second and third, ano mangyari? Wala ka na magagawa, right? Kasi wala na tong coefficient, so hindi siya papasok dun sa mga form na nakita natin dun sa isa sa mga unang slides, right? So I guess we don't have any choice but to pair, or to group the first and the third terms in the left-hand side. So we're gonna have x cubed y cubed dx plus x to the fourth y squared dy plus dx equals 0. And then, ano yung pwede kong i-factor dun sa first group, dun sa naka-parentheses? So you just factor the highest powers of x and y on both terms, right? Highest power ni x at saka ni y na parehas meron yung dalawang terms. So we can factor out x cubed y squared. All right? Pag finactor natin yung x cubed y squared, I'm praying na makakuha tayo ng isang form na nandun sa first, dun sa slide natin ng mga differential forms. Ano? So, here, ang matitira ay y dx plus x dy. And I'm happy with that because this is basically d of xy, right? Plus dx equals 0. Okay? So here, implementing what I said earlier, I'm going to have x cubed y squared differential ni xy plus dx equals 0. So essentially, ito, pinalitan ko lamang neto. Kasi ito ay resulta ng product rule applied to the differential. All right? Now, separate ko yung variables. Pero ano yung mga quote-unquote variables natin dito? Yung mga variables natin siya yung nasa loob ng differential. So meron tayong variable x, tapos meron tayong variable na xy. So dapat either nagsosula lang si x o kaya magka-combo si x at saka si y. Alright? So perhaps what I'll do first is to separate the differentials on both sides para ready tayo to integrate and we can see whatever will happen more clearly. So we'll have x cubed y squared dxy equals negative dx, right? Kaya lang, dun sa left-hand side, ang tinuturing ko as a variable ay si xy. So kailangan magkaroon ako ng isang function that has the xy combo in it, right? So pwede ko naman siyang gawin, magkakaroon ako ng xy, tapos naka-square nga lang. Which is fine because if you look at xy to be or u, this guy is u squared. So meron kang u squared times du. Which is fine, madaling i-integrate yung u squared du. Kaya lang, ito ay x squared y squared. Meron pa tayong meron pa tayong matitirang x dito sa left side, right? Para ito, pag sinimplify, but can we manage with this leftover x? Luckily, we can, because the right-hand side treats x to be its variable. So I can divide both sides by x and come up with xy quantity squared with respect to xy equals negative dx over x. Okay, medyo hang yata yung aking, ayan, finally, nag-ganun na siya, nag-update. So madali lang itong left, integrate ko lang siya, right? So we will integrate this with respect to their respective variables. So derivative ng negative dx over x is negative ln of absolute value of x. Tapos magdagdag na ako dyan ng constant c. So what's left to be done is to integrate quantity xy squared with respect to xy. So ibig sabihin, pwede mong i-consider si xy to be your variable. Kung nalilito kayo na bakit sir ang komplikado ng variable kung saan ako nag integrate ang gawin nyo, imagine mo to as a single variable. Ng xy na makikita mo, palitan mo ng u. So ang itsura nung left-hand side integral natin ay integral lamang ng u squared du. Ang integral ng u squared du ay u cubed all over 3. Pero ano nga yung u natin? Ang u natin ay xy. So basically, the integral will be xy cubed all over 3. And this would be our final answer. Or any equivalent expression to this one. All right? Okay, may tanong ba, Syra? Dina-digest pa. Medyo tricky itong last section eh. Kaya I suggest this be your last resort. Ano? Ito na yung huli niyong itry unless super galing kayong maghanap ng patterns. Okay? But I guess there's a bunch of exercises here. Sa end. May isa lang ako ditong hindi ma-solve. Hindi ko ma-solve tong number 2. Hindi ko makita yung pattern kay number 2. Either meron akong substitution na hindi naiisip or may typo dito sa number 2. Kasi ang problema ko ay yung 3 dito. So, hindi ko siya matanggal. Either, yeah, I'm missing one nice trick. Kahit kasi dinidecompose ko na yung 3x squared y into 2x squared y plus x squared y, hindi ko pa rin siya makuha. All right? So maybe you can try this one out and share with me what you got. But I guess numbers 1, 3, 4, and 5 are all straightforward. Ganun lang, kailangan nyo expand, tapos piliin nyo sino yung may mga dx at mga may dy na pwede kong pag-partnerin. Kailangan pag-partnerin para meron tayong differential form na makukuha. Either the differential of xy, not either pala, marami kasi to, x over y, or differential ni y over x, or differential ni arctan ng y over x. Ito pala yung hindi ko na-try. Pero hindi ko alam kung kaya to na arctangent eh. Ito lang yung hindi ko pa natatry dun sa mga forms kanina. And hindi ko siya tinry para dito. So maybe this one would be my arctan. Pero I'm not sure. So kindly check. Unless meron akong na-miss about the differential of xy and the differential of yx. All right? So I'll stop here. I hope you guys will take some time to answer some of the exercises, especially that I cannot entertain your questions live, and aside from Syra, who is very gracious to join me tonight. Ano? So, yun. Pero I'll try to be online tomorrow, lalo na kung nasa biyahe pa kami. Ano nga bang call time namin? Susunduin nila ako sa bahay ng 7. So starting from 7, sa Batangas lang naman kami. So siguro 2 hours or 3 hours yung biyahe. So siguro by 9, by 9 nag-start na yung program. So baka hindi ako makapag-participate with you. But just send me an email or a chat via Teams if you have some questions about what was discussed in this recording. Okay? And don't forget, we have a homework corresponding to this slide. So to this discussion, and that will be due on on Friday next week, right before we go to the reading break. Tama no, reading break na week after next. Ang bilis, matatapos sa kaagad ng October. Ibig sabihin, malapit na tayo mag-midterm exam. Hindi ko pa sure kung ano yung coverage. Pero ang ipopropose ko sa committee na gawing coverage ay chapters 1 and 2 lang muna para you have more time to practice. Pero in any case, we will start chapter 3 on Wednesday na. Wednesday next week, right? So para maka-move on tayo. Okay? So with that, enjoy your weekend, guys. Zyra, thank you for joining me tonight. And then again, double check my solutions. Meron akong isang solution na hindi sure. Yung second problem dun sa slide 2.8. Hindi kasi eksaktong katulad nung nandun sa slide. I don't know who messed up. It's either the slides, which I doubt. So malamang ako yung may mali. Pakisabi sa akin kung saan ako nagkamali. Alright? Para makorek ko siya next Wednesday. Alright? Yun yung problema sa recording. Makikita yung mga bubu ko na ginagawa. Ano? Pero that's fine. That's part of the learning process. All right. Thank you, guys. Bye. Good night, Sarah.
Thank you, sir. Good night po.
All right. Pahinga ka na.